Nightmare at Bitter Creek, next Tuesday.
Brooke Logan wants what she may never have. Ridge Forrester.
She's after him for all the wrong reasons.
But when love is forbidden, you always want more. Weekdays.
Rags to riches, the world of fashion. More than glitz and glamour. It's high style, high stakes, and high anxiety. 48 Hours Thursday.
They desperately needed a miracle.
If you had half the faith in the Lord that you place in doctors, that boy would get well.
God will heal you, Wesley.
But their belief betrayed them.
We killed him!
Was it an act of faith or an act of murder? Rosanna Arquette, Judge Reinhold, promised a miracle based on a true story. Thursday.
This is CBS.
Up next on the 10 p.m. report, a county employee under fire. Some say he blew the whistle on mismanagement. Tonight, he's being called a thief.
A temporary reprieve for a popular nightclub.
A new pastime while you wait for your flight at the airport.
In Dimension, a family loses its home. We'll examine what it's like to be lost in the system.
In Teach Your Children, foreign education on the rise.
I'm Don Shelby.
And I'm Pat Miles. The 10 p.m. report is coming up next.
Things in our little part of the world are getting fashion, and now it's the food. But take some advice on the food and go with the genuine article. It all seems to taste better. Like these, made the old-fashioned way, stone ground corn. Stick with these, and don't embarrass me on this one.
Thin, crisp Tostitos brand tortilla chips. The flavor's a legend.
Suddenly, there's a whole new way of looking at sports sedans. The new Mitsubishi Galant. Its design is dynamic and spirited. Unlike Camry or Accord, Galant offers the world's most advanced electronic suspension, available anti-lock braking, and was voted Japan's Car of the Year. But Galant's most significant development isn't just the technology that's gone into it, but the feeling you'll get out of it. The new Mitsubishi Galant with prices starting around $10,700. It's suddenly the obvious choice.
Wake up. Wake up to the hottest sale of the season, the Sunshine Sale at Target, with huge savings on everything you need for the sun. Hurry, or you could be left completely in the dark.
I'll be here. The Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office, embroiled in controversy for more than a month now. Tonight, a man who used to work here stands indicted by a grand jury.
WCCO Television presents Pat Miles, Don Shelby, Mike Fairborn, and Mark Rosen. This is the 10 p.m. report.
Good evening, everyone. A man who says he wants to point out problems in the Hennepin County Medical Examiner's Office tonight is accused of stealing medical records to prove his point.
James Hunt, an investigator who helped the medical examiner's office probe deaths in the county. According to his attorney, tonight Hunt faces misdemeanor charges alleging he released private medical information and felony charges for allegedly stealing government documents. As Trish Van Pilsen reports, the release of those documents set off allegations of mismanagement at the ME's office.
Jim Hunt was at home today when his lawyer told him about the indictments. He'd expected misdemeanor charges, but was surprised and frightened by the felony indictment. He plans to fight it.
Well, these issues are so critical at this point that there's no way that we're going to stop fighting. I'm willing to go to jail. I really am, for what I believe in. And if that's what it takes to bring these issues to a head, then that's what I'll do.
The issue Hunt took on was the management of the medical examiner's office. He allegedly gave case files to a St. Paul Pioneer Press reporter, files he believed proved mismanagement. Information from the files ended up on the front pages in a series of articles critical of medical examiner Gary Peterson. Since then, county officials have decided to have an outside review of Peterson.
So far, Jim Hunt is the only person charged or disciplined in the missing files case, but there were a number of other employees who, along with Hunt, raised the same concerns about management of the office. The person they took those concerns to was County Commissioner Randy Johnson.
facts. I certainly can't condone the removal of the files. That was illegal. I can't.
But Johnson says the employees weren't acting out of greed or malice, but he believes out of genuine concern.
And I think maybe the lesson here for us in the county and in government is that we have to be more responsive somehow to potential whistleblowers. They shouldn't have to go or feel that they've got to go to the news media and break the law in order to right what they consider to be a wrong.
In the meantime, Hunt is suspended with pay from the examiner's office. He'll turn himself into jail tomorrow. Trish Van Pilsum, WCCO Television News, the Twin Cities.
Prosecutors will not comment on the case until the indictment is officially released after Hunt appears in court tomorrow. A St. Paul Pioneer Press editor would not comment on the charges, but did say all the files have been returned.
A decision on how to deal with some trouble at Rupert's nightclub has been delayed. The Golden Valley City Council tonight put off a vote on suspending the liquor license of Rupert's and 2 restaurants. Rupert's has pleaded guilty to serving liquor to a minor last October and faces a possible 5-day suspension of its liquor license. That also would cut off liquor at the American Cafe and Tony's, which operate under the same license as Rupert's. Tonight, the owner asked for more time to present his case. That suspension would put 350 people out of work and is too harsh for a single violation, according to the owner. Tomorrow, expect a call for more cops in the city of Minneapolis. Councilmember Walter Dietzick says he plans to ask for 100 new police officers for the department. He says they are needed to fight a rising crime rate, but today Deputy Chief David Dubrotka told us the crime rate in Minneapolis has actually decreased in the past 4 months. Dietzick says it may take a tax hike to pay for all of the additional officers.
The nation's 10th largest bank, First National of Chicago, says it has thwarted an attempt by one of its employees to embezzle $70 million. Bank officials aren't saying much more, but sources do say this is how the scheme worked. Using a high-tech computer system, the employee transferred millions of dollars from the accounts of customers at the Chicago bank to accounts at banks in other states, including New York. First National Bank of Chicago was tipped off when one of its customers, Merrill Lynch, noticed a discrepancy in its account. Apparently, the money was moved silently and electronically from bank to bank, but was discovered before anyone arrived to pick up the cash. Both Merrill Lynch and the bank say no money was lost, and the investigation has been turned over now to the FBI.
More U.S. goods are being sold abroad, and that has reduced the nation's trade deficit. In March, the deficit was just $9.7 billion, the lowest level in 3 years. The government says an export boom is helping. During March, we sold $29 billion worth of goods to other countries, and that is a new record. President Reagan welcomed the improved trade figures during an impromptu news conference at the White House. Mr. Reagan also commented on reports of astrology in the White House and defended embattled Attorney General Ed Meese. Here's what he said on those 2 topics to reporters today.
There have been a great many allegations made, but nothing has been proven, and I've seen no evidence of any wrongdoing on his part of the kind that is inferred in the allegations that are being kicked around it.
You believe in it.
I don't guide my life by it, but I won't answer the question the other way because I don't know enough about it to say, is there something to it or not.
The president also said negotiations continue to remove military strongman Manuel Noriega from Panama, but he would not elaborate on the plan.
The polls just closed in Oregon, where the voters are expressing their preference in the Democratic primary. Massachusetts Governor Michael Dukakis is favored to win the state and a majority of its 45 delegates. Authorities in St. Louis are tonight holding 2 people who were allegedly planning to assassinate Jesse Jackson. The 2 members of the white supremacist group, The Order, were arrested Friday, and a rifle was confiscated by authorities. They allegedly told a police officer they were planning to murder Jackson in early July.
James Lindow, the former mayor of Bloomington, will be the new president of the Minneapolis Grain Exchange. Lindow takes over the grain exchange on June 6th. And the man at the top of Minnesota's high-tech heap made a rare public appearance today. Seymour Cray, founder of the supercomputer firm in Minneapolis, which bears his name, told a gathering of stockholders today that his company's dominance in the supercomputer market will increase in the 1990s, despite more competition from Japan and other U.S. corporations. Cray Research sells about 60 of its $12 million supercomputers each year, and Seymour Cray disclosed today that his company is working on a new computer which will be 100 times faster, he says, than current models. Completion date, 1992.
The Twin Cities Airport is looking to make more money, and the method of choice appears to be gambling. Beginning in July, pull tabs will be sold in airport bars, lounges, and specially constructed stands. The Volunteer Airport Foundation hopes to make nearly $140,000 to be spent on cutting down airport noise, sprucing up the airport grounds, and also improving traveler aid services. The pull tabs are small cards and will be sold for $1. Customers open a number of tabs, and a winner could mean a prize of up to $200. The state's charitable gambling board is expected to approve airport gambling sometime next week.
Suddenly, a story appears in the news yesterday that the Supreme Court rules it's okay for the police to search through your garbage for evidence. And you might ask, what for? As an added dimension tonight, Minneapolis police explained to Dave Nimmer that they often search through garbage and common household items become evidence in drug cases.
A playing card.
A playing card.
What would that tell you? I mean, what would you be looking for?
Commonly, cocaine dealers use this to make lines, to cut up the powder cocaine, to direct it because it's in a powder form, and there'll be traces on the card.
You'd be looking for an old bottles of isopropyl alcohol.
Well, anybody could have this, obviously, but if I found this along with this, which is commonly used as a torch, found this along with this, and that's commonly what they smoke with these.
Okay.
If we found a lot of these, this is one way that they commonly package it. There's one hit of crack cocaine, they pay $25 for right in the end here. But again, the only way we're going to be going through anybody's garbage, and nobody wants to do it. We do it only when we have to. If there's another way to approach that investigation, we're going to do it, because it's very distasteful.
And there was more on the list of what could be drug evidence, including pop cans, which can be used as pipes.
Let's go, Buck. Okay, suit yourself. Now that we're using Bucktril herbicide, old Buck doesn't even check the corn anymore, because Bucktril gives us real good control of cucklebur, velvet leaf, and other broadleaves. And with Bucktril, there's no vapor drift, so it won't burn my beans. Speaking of vapors. Oh, I can't believe this. Woo!
When it comes to controlling broadleaf weeds in corn, nothing measures up to Bucktril.
Come on, Buck, open the door, buddy. Come on. Oh, don't you lay down on me, buddy.
I can't wait to see the look on his face. He's going to be so excited.
It's a feeling. You keep calling me home, Chicago.
Wait a minute, take a look at this.
Calling me home, Chicago is calling me home.
We just missed you, Dad.
It's the Race to Savings sale at Menards, and Red Devil polyurethanes are on sale now. Red Devil polyurethanes provide a tough, durable, high-gloss or satin finish indoors or out. Just $8.88 per gallon after rebate. Save on our full selection of Norton Sandpaper, too, for hand and machine sanding. Choose fine, medium, coarse, or assorted grits, just 99 cents per package. That's Menards' Race to Savings sale.
America's hardest brand at Menards.
Nobody beats Midas. Nobody. Here's why.
Stop in at your Twin Cities Midas dealer for his $49 break special. See your Midas dealer for details.
This summer, celebrate the spirit of music. Waltz Viennese style, or explore the world of the symphony, the concerto, chamber music, or Puccini's powerful opera Tosca. Join me, Leonard Slatkin, and the members of the Minnesota Orchestra for Sommerfest 88, July 13th through August 6th.
Tonight in Dimension, adding more meaning to the idea of foreign exchange students in Teach Your Children.
But first tonight, a case of having it all and losing it. A case the system is not designed to help.
The reality is millions of Americans are just a paycheck or two away from homelessness. Evidence of that has been the combination of a recent housing surge and an increase in foreclosures. HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, reports thousands each month, 71,000 in this country last year, 12,000 in the 6 states from Minnesota to Ohio. Today in court, the Wheatleys, a Maple Grove family, became a statistic, losing their home because their breadwinner lost his health. Mike Strand looks at their problems and why the problems are so hard to fix.
Muscles in John Wheatley's hands and body are stricken with Parkinson's disease, a chronic nerve disorder that robs its victims of coordination and movement. Today, John says even smiling is an act of will. The illness, diagnosed about a year ago, has already cost John his career in sales, cut his income from $40,000 to less than $15,000 a year, thrown him into default on an FHA loan, and emptied the family's savings account.
This is a nightmare. We eat a lot of beans and rice. I'm very creative. I sew a lot. We cut our own hair. I do a lot that I don't have to spend outside money for.
With welfare unable to meet their needs, the Wheatleys will lose their $75,000 home the end of this month, a home they bought over 3 years ago on a 13% government loan, a loan they felt was reasonable at the time, a time when disease had not yet affected John's work.
The mortgage payments are high, so that if you miss one or two, you're really up a creek.
Since falling behind, the Wheatleys feel they've become victims of both Parkinson's and the inability of the government to halt their scheduled eviction.
There doesn't seem to be the safety nets that they talk about, at least for us.
Officials from Housing and Urban Development are quick to point out that the Wheatleys were more than 2 years and $32,000 behind in mortgage payments. But they acknowledge, had they known about the Parkinson's beforehand, the outcome might have been different.
But we didn't know that he had Parkinson's disease. All we knew is he had a debt, he didn't pay it, and there were no reasonable prospects, and all the questions that we asked weren't answered. See, as far as we're concerned, the mortgage is extinguished. There is no mortgage.
The situation has even prompted Anita Wheatley to get involved in the growing problem of low-cost, quality housing for lower-income families.
The problem is, and for a lot of people, is the housing is too expensive. What we need is jobs. That's what we need.
Government officials admit the system is not geared to deal with problems like the Wheatleys. They truly have fallen through the cracks. But the Wheatleys know they're not the only ones in danger of losing their homes to circumstance and government restrictions. They say they want to make a contribution to society. But sadly, that contribution is seemingly to be an example for others to note and a reason to make more changes in the system.
If we can't make it, if we have trouble working our way through the bureaucracy, if we have trouble working and making it on welfare, if we have trouble making it here, what about all the other people who don't have our education?
I'm Mike Strand, WCCO Television News, Maple Grove.
The mortgage company in this case has agreed to let the Wheatleys stay temporarily if HUD agrees to accept the house with the family in it. From there, though, HUD could agree to an extension to give the Wheatleys more time to find new housing.
Turning now to Teach Your Children, which tonight focuses on teaching them about the world. In the high schools, there are now some elaborate plans to teach young people, not just about other countries' languages, but about their cultures as well. It's all part of a plan to help Americans of the future compete on the world-class level. Here's Alan Cox.
They gather in temporary classrooms straight out of a documentary about the suburbs of Moscow. They begin at 7:30 in the morning, an hour not usually associated with decadent capitalists. They watch Soviet newscasts and study under the gaze of the leaders of communism. But the fashions are Western, and the Russian is spoken with what presumably is a Minnesota accent.
There. All right, Smarty. Softball. Minraki? It's not Minyaki. That's how you say soft.
They are students in the third year of studying Russian, doing it in one of the most advanced language programs in the state.
Я тоже студент.
Вы хорошо говорите по-русски?
Нет, я изучаю русский.
Apple Valley High has moved foreign language into the mainstream with decidedly untraditional languages.
自分の書いた質問を読みます。そして同じグループの人が
Everyone else is taking French and Spanish, so it was just a new thing, you know. It's a challenge to take something that no one else has taken before.
Sometime I might like to go into computer animation, try that, and the Japanese industry has a lot to do with animation and computer and film animations, so as far as business relations, I could use it for that.
We think it's important that our students who are going to have careers in the 21st century be part of the global village and be able to speak more than one language.
Much of the change has been fairly recent. Apple Valley added Russian in 1982, Japanese in 85. Here at Hopkins High School, there's been a big upswing in foreign exchange students coming and going. This is the United Nations of homerooms. The school's 20 students from overseas meet here before heading out into activities they'd be hard-pressed to pursue in their home countries. A video laboratory, a computer center for self-guided learning, and contact at the dissecting table with American kids. You get the feeling they know much about the world outside?
No, not really. Well, you know, they know the country, but about the culture, they don't have too much knowledge, I think.
I think they don't really know about other countries. They just know about their own culture. And I would like them to learn more about it.
American students going abroad find the same thing.
I had no idea what it'd be like. I went to the library, you know. There are 2 books on Yugoslavia in the library. I mean, you know, the scope we have such a narrow scope of the world, I think, or as a high school student, the education we have is not broad enough.
I mean, we need this patriotism, but at the same time, we're ignoring other countries, and by going there, I put myself more in perspective with the rest of the people, and I realized I'm not this great person just because I have an American passport.
Ultimately, understanding depends on personal contact. An American student tutoring a Japanese.
He teaches me composition and grammar and stuff like that.
We become good friends, and 1st of August, I'm going to Japan, and I'm going to live with Takanori for the month of August before I start college.
For the sake of the country's competitiveness, today's students must know more about the world than their parents did. As always, the students learn best when they study because they're interested, not obligated. With John Seidlitz, Alan Cox, WCCO Television News.
And our test questions tonight give an idea on how high school students are expected to compete on a scientific level. Here is teacher Mark Wanovic of Southwest in Minneapolis.
Question number 1. Which of the following is characteristic only of birds? A, wings, B, feathers, C, egg laying, D, flight. Question number 2. Which of the following would not contribute to the increase of a population's growth rate? A, increased death rate, B, increased birth rate, C, increased immigration, D, decreased competition. Question number 3. When fossil fuels are burned, which of the following substances is released into the environment in the greatest amount? A, carbon, B, ammonia, C, nitrogen, D, phosphorus.
We'll have those answers coming up later.
The Perkins Reuben Melt, the other guy's Reuben sandwich. Our country